Well, welcome to this LinkedIn Live broadcast today. Why your bid needs a kick-off. It can be enormously tempting when a bid or proposal arrives to just get started working on it straight away, perhaps start to divvy up some of the questions around various subject matter experts, and just to get on with working on the bid, especially if perhaps you're an organisation that you're quite used to bidding and you're a well-oiled machine, perhaps you think you are, and the bid kick-off meeting could feel like an unnecessary waste of time and resources. However, I cannot stress strongly enough, whether you're experienced in bidding or less experienced, it is absolutely vital for the bid to have a kick-off. The kick-off is basically your main organising meeting that gets the bid off to a disciplined start with senior level involvement. It gets off to an organised start, so as people know who is working on what and when, and the various reviews, etc., that are going to be built in to the process that's needed to delivering successful bid submissions. So what stage should the bid kick-off come into the process? So the recommendation from the APMP, that's a professional body for bid managers and writers, the Association of Proposal Management Professionals. The recommendation there within the body of knowledge is that this takes place around 15% of the available time. So if, for example, you had 4 weeks to work on a proposal or bid, you'd be wanting to hold this meeting perhaps on working day 3 or 4 of what would be a 20 working day time limit that you had for the proposal development. So you're not holding it on day 1, you're not going to get everybody's diaries aligned on day 1, but also what's the reason for holding it 15% of the way through is that a good bit of preparation needs to be done for an effective bid kick-off meeting. So this is where the bid manager would be reviewing what is involved in the bid. It would also be going to sales or business development leads in the organisation, the people that have perhaps brought the opportunity or through their efforts, or maybe it's been picked up through public sector tender alert scanning. Either way, there is work for the bid manager to do to prepare for an effective bid kick-off. They want to have some kind of outline of what the proposal is going to contain. They want to have an opportunity summary. They want to have a clear understanding of who is needed to contribute to this proposal and the various ways. Are they all within the organisation, or is there going to be any external people or organisations involved, maybe sort of teaming? It could be a joint venture or consortium bidding. It could be that there's essential or specialist subcontractors who have to input into the bid as well. So the bid manager needs to make sure that they have the right people attending the bid kick-off, and as part of the preparation involved as well, they're going to bring various documents along that they have prepared or that they have brought together from within their organisation. One of the things that they might want to be involved with is some kind of content planning as well, or certainly at least the background information that the writers are going to need around the content planning, so as a pack can be given at the bid kick-off that provides the information and the guidance that people are going to need. It may also include some kind of glossary of terms. It may include a style guide, some kind of idea of the direction of travel that you want to be going in. How long should the bid kick-off meeting be? Normally it would be perhaps around about 3 hours, but that would depend on the opportunity, the size of it, importance of it, the complexity of it. So it can be that a bid kickoff can be shorter than 2 or 3 hours. It can also be that it can be longer. And the longest one I've ever known it took about 2 days, but that was for a highly complex contract. It was one that there was very detailed requirements. There was a long window to actually work on the bid, and there was a huge amount of things had to be covered at that bid kickoff. But that's unusual. As I said, most bid kickoffs can be around 2, 3, or perhaps at most 4-hour meetings. So who needs to be there? Well, the bid manager certainly needs to be there. They're going to have a key role in it. We think of others who are going to be there. We think of the senior sponsor within the organisation. It's always good for your bids to have a senior sponsor, perhaps a C-suite executive who is able to come along. It might be they cannot stay for the whole bid kickoff meeting, but they would certainly be there at the outset, and they would, after the bid manager had done a welcome, they would say why this bid was important for the organisation, what it is you're looking to get from it, and their commitment to it as well, in terms of making sure that the organisation provides the necessary resources to the bid team. And when I say the bid team, I don't just mean people that have bid within their job title. Here I'm referring to the people who are going to be involved in working on this bid, that they have the resources needed, or that they have perhaps other people freed up to help or to take on work that they would normally do, because they perhaps are going to be involved with this bid. So you would also have bid writers involved here. You would have operational delivery leads coming along as well, typically, or at least a senior operational delivery lead. You'd certainly want to have your commercial and finance people, the people who are going to be involved in pricing the bid here as well. Sometimes you may have to have somebody from legal there, if particularly if the contract is one that there is going to be perhaps quite a lot of markups or clarification requests going back into the buyer about. Again, the bid manager, in effectively scheduling the bid kickoff, doesn't necessarily need to have everybody present for the full 3 or perhaps 4-hour meeting. It could perhaps be as well that there's certain aspects that are very private within the organisation, and it might be that, again, you might want to get people attending the relevant parts of the meeting, but certainly the key people who are going to be involved in this bid, the bid manager, the bid writers, any bid director who is involved, perhaps the operational person stays for quite a lot of it as well, as would the finance person. You need to have your people committed to this as well. So typically these meetings were often held face-to-face before the current pandemic. And there are real benefits to doing that as well. However, most of them are, of course, now being held virtually. And in fact, at AM Bid, we work across the UK and Ireland, and we have frequently, even before the pandemic, held bid kickoffs via video conference or teleconference. So the meetings can be held effectively. One thing, though, that the bid manager and certainly the senior people within the organisation would want to help to kind of facilitate a culture that a bid kickoff is a very important meeting. It's not a meeting that people would want to miss, and it's a meeting that they would want to be fully present at. So if somebody's busy sort of, working away on their emails or checking their mobile phone or whatever at the same time as the bid kickoff meeting is going on, well, that's demonstrating their mind's not fully on the job here. They're perhaps dropped their concentration. It may indicate that their energy levels are not going to be as high for this particular opportunity. They're not treating it very importantly. And of course, the people that are involved in talking and in leading things at the bid kickoff meeting could perhaps feel a bit discouraged if people were not fully engaged. Now, of course, in a virtual session as well, we could have a situation that we don't know. People look as if they're present on the camera, but it's not clear whether they are fully engaged. So this is a challenge, and it's a challenge for the bid manager especially, to design a kickoff that's interesting, that's informative, that's thought-provoking, and encourages robust discussion as well, because this is a meeting that you want to get the maximum from it. You want to really understand what is going to be needed to actually work this bid successfully. So in the opportunity overview, which would normally be given by the sales or business development lead in the organisation, whoever owns that client relationship or potential client relationship, they would want to be talking about the actual end client here, what they know about them. Have they worked with them before? They want to bring some intel into this. They want to see why this particular opportunity is one that really merits everybody getting involved in. And they would be somebody who would want to stick pretty close to the bid, because usually the sales and business development leads, they have got these bids and proposals within their sales targets. So it's very much in their interests that they contribute effectively to the bid kickoff, and also provide assistance throughout the bid process here. Be good to think about as well who the competitors are, or potential competitors, what is known within the organisation here. So this is all around where you're thinking about the kind of capture planning. Now, a lot of this work may have been done already with the capture plan, so it may just need to be summarised at this meeting. In perhaps smaller organisations, that it might be that the bid kickoff is the meeting that the capture planning discussion really takes place in, although classically that would have been done beforehand. You would want to also be very clear on what your organisation's USPs are, your unique selling propositions, what your differentiators are, customer value propositions as well. So as the whole win theme matter is discussed here, and there is clarity given across the bid, not just why you're bidding it and what is needed to win the bid here, but how you're going to articulate things. So something the bid manager would have given thought to in planning this bid kickoff and also the work on the bid would be the proposal management plan. And this perhaps would be available at the bid kickoff. So this would be the various stages within the bid. It would also be when things need to be done by. It would include appropriate milestones, decision gates, deadlines, sign-offs, etc., and also the roles, responsibilities of the various people who are going to be involved here. So one thing we could say about your bid kickoff is it gives direction and clarity to your bid going forward. It means that everybody in effect is on the same page, all singing from the same hymn sheet here, that the bid has got strategic and operational direction, and you're very clear about the road that you're going to be travelling on. Perhaps something as well about where there could be pressure points or pain points. It's important that that people feel empowered that at this meeting, if they think there is some kind of concern that they have about their own role or about the organisation and how they can do well at this bid, it's important that people feel that they can call this out and that these things are robustly discussed as well. So as people leave the meeting feeling not just motivated, but very clear on what they're doing and clear on the support that's available to help fulfil their role and responsibility. Along with the proposal management plan, the roles and responsibilities, it might even be that the account manager or lead here has perhaps been asked to put together a kind of executive summary perhaps in conjunction with the bid manager. Now, the executive summary, it might not be fully formed at this point, but again, it is giving you that roadmap that this is the way we need to be going, so as people have that clear. The bid kickoff is also a time when tactical planning can be used as well. Particularly, I would suggest around the sort of clarification questions that you want to put into the buyer. So things where there might be doubt, things where it's open to different points of view or that assumptions could be made. You want to get clarity from the buyer here. You also sometimes want to use these clarification questions tactically as well. It could be that you know this type of contract or sector very well. You know where things cost a lot, perhaps more than people might think who are going to enter the market here to deliver. You perhaps just want to highlight certain things through the clarifications as well, just to get clarity for yourself and the other bidders on what is in scope, what's out of scope, how things are going to be monitored, where perhaps variations will be allowed to the fees that are being paid or costs for the goods or services, or where certain things are expected to be part of your submitted price. So you won't flush all of that out at the bid kickoff meeting, nor would it be its purpose to necessarily flush all that out. But the bid manager would want to give some direction to those people who are involved in the various different elements of the bid to say, well, do you know what, if you've got questions around the specification, you might want to just check that you understand fully what is to be delivered here within this contract. It might be questions around the commercials. We were working on a pricing matrix recently that when our client got into it, they realised that quite a number of the cells didn't actually work. You couldn't put information into them. Well, you don't want to find that out at the last minute. You want to find that out while there's still time to ask clarification questions. So at the bid kickoff, the bid manager would be highlighting these sort of things. The bid manager would be saying to the commercial or the legal team, you perhaps, if it's a public sector bid, the contract is usually available, and this is going to be during the bid process your opportunity to ask questions, suggest amendments, etc., where that's possible to do so, seek clarity. They really want to be doing all of that. For the writers, the response as well, again, the bid manager at the kickoff could flag, do you understand exactly what you're being expected to do here, response-wise, what the buyer, the client is looking for? Are their questions clear? If they've given word or page limits, do these word or page limits reflect what is going to be needed to answer the question, providing the necessary comfort to the buyer that you understand what's involved here. So again, at the bid kickoff, you want to be flagging the types of things that clarification questions could perhaps be asked about. It's important that you, as a bid manager, highlight the timelines involved and get agreement from people. It's vital at the bid kickoff that they're obviously going to know the bid submission date, but they cannot be working towards that. So submission date might seem at the time of the kickoff, oh, it's a number of weeks away, it's a number of months away even, and the temptation could be, well, let's just leave things till pretty much the last minute. Well, the bid manager has to use the bid kickoff to persuasively explain why that would not be a good way to go, and also to make sure that there are proper milestones getting put into the bid, decision gates, review meetings, progress update meetings, etc. And you would agree at the bid kickoff what is needed, when these are needed to happen, who needs to be there, and people should come to the bid kickoff meeting with their diaries or electronic calendars that they can commit to getting dates put in. And once these dates put in, I would suggest that where possible, the dates do not get moved very much at all. So just to recap on what are the goals of a bid kickoff, an effective or successful bid kickoff. I'm just going to give 5 goals, and people who are members of APMP, you'd find these 5 goals contained within the Book of Knowledge. It's to initiate the efforts of contributors, number 1. Number 2 is convey information on the opportunity. Number 3 is make assignments. As I mentioned, being very clear on the roles and responsibilities of the different people who are going to be involved here. Number 4 is to coordinate the upcoming activities and to make sure that things happen when they need to happen, together when needed, that these are all coordinated. And of course, number 5, and last but absolutely not least, it's probably the most important thing, to build a cohesive team. Getting a bit of a sense that this is a team effort. Yes, people have individual roles and responsibilities, but you know what? If you do your role and I don't do mine, then the whole thing starts to unravel. So therefore, it's people feeling that they've got a bit of ownership over this. And this is where the senior sponsor or C-suite executive at the outset has been able to give either her or his strong commitment, the reasons why the organisation is bidding this, and the support and the resources that are going to be available. And together with the bid manager and the relationship manager, want to be motivating everybody involved that yes, we can win this if we work together well as a team, if we work in the way that we've said we would from our bid kickoff. I mentioned as well that partners and subcontractors may need to be at this as well, or at least at parts of it. So important that you get, if there's any necessary confidentiality agreements in place, you want to make sure that you have these. It could be also that you think, well, this is a very strategic bid. It's one that maybe our bid kickoff could benefit from either being led by or certainly the attendance of an external bid specialist. I've had quite a lot of experience of leading and going along to bid kickoff meetings, just to give my input to make sure that things are on the correct track, and perhaps to raise things which sometimes in the internal organisation have perhaps been missed or assumed, or perhaps sometimes people don't know that in some cases that there can be different or even better ways of actually managing your bid kickoff. So hope you found this useful. Just your bid kickoff, who needs to be there, what preparation you do before it, what happens at the bid kickoff and also after the bid kickoff in terms of making sure that your bid is a well-run and successful bid. Tomorrow at 1:30 p.m, I'll go LinkedIn Live again. I'm going to talk about the subject of frameworks. Frameworks are something that many organisations want to be on, are keen to be on. Other organisations are perhaps not very sure about them. They've maybe had experiences where they've been on a framework and not got any work from it. So I'm going to talk about frameworks to bid or not to bid. And that's tomorrow, Tuesday the 11th at 1:30 p.m.